Hi everyone. I'm plucking up my courage and I'm here tonight, or this afternoon, whenever it is. I'm popping my presentation practice for the EFF accreditation in the Facebook group. So let's get started. Hi everyone, I'm Melissa Dunyam. I'm a human development coach and the founder of Leading Rain, a people-first approach to professional development. I run women's workshops and retreats in Tasmania. And it's great to see so many here supporting the presenters on their way to the accreditation. And this shows how the EFF movement is making a difference, not just for us, but with the ripple impact across our communities. So, what is EFF? The Emotional Fitness Formula. It's a phenomenal human behavioral insights program created by my mentor, Pane. And Joe's philosophy is that emotional fitness is measured by the quality of the relationship we have with uncertainty. And EFF is framed around five core areas that significantly impact our capacity to handle life's uncertainties. There's identity, life stages, values, emotional flexibility, and perspective. And the framework helps build such a profound awareness of who we are, where we're going, the stages of life we're at, having clarity around what matters most, building a healthy emotional vocabulary, and maintaining a clear perspective free from the distortions or unchecked emotions and bias. And today, due to the small window of time we have together, we're going to explore a macro overview of identity stage. And Joe's framework's flavored by the work of humanistic psychologist and mystic philosopher Carl Jung. And Jung spoke about the four phases of identity and archetypes. And Joe has beautifully constructed these insights into a more modern and relatable format for our day-to-day lives. Why is it important for us to know and understand identity? Because it's our self-concept. And I want to speak on identity today because it is the most powerful force in the human condition. The simplest way to define identity is our self-concept, what we allow ourselves to be defined by, what we believe we are worthy or unworthy of, what we believe we are capable or incapable of. Whatever we allow to define us owns us. And Joe has shared extensive insights on the concept of identity and calls it the king of all human behavior patterns. And the core areas we mentioned earlier are contained within identity, much like a babushka doll. And it's important to recognize that as humans, there are external forces that influence our self-concept. And what do I mean by external? Well, the influences that come from outside of us and shape who we are, conditioning, personality, the environment, and our internal conversations. Our sense of identity shapes our lifestyle, choices, decisions, values, what we feel about life, our relationship with money, family, men, women, love. It also affects how we navigate life's uncertainties. And we will do almost anything to defend our self-concept, to stay consistent with who we think we are. We become hypersensitive and attached to it. And this has a direct impact on our destiny and where we're heading in life. So we can allow ourselves to be defined by negative forces, which stem from fear base, or defined by love. When you allow your identity to be influenced by fear, then you can feel out of sorts and off kilter or off balance. Fear-based influences can come from a variety of sources. And when our identity is shaped by fear, we often find ourselves reactive and heightened to external influences. And when you allow yourself to be defined by love, then you feel more in alignment with who you are innately, your character. And it's the more authentic or natural self, who you truly are without all the external noise. Hands up if this resonates with you so far. Okay, let me share a story about a Buddha statue. Originally made of solid gold, it was covered with clay to protect it during the war, so it wouldn't appear of value. And years later, while moving the statue, a monk noticed a crack with a golden light shining through. And curious, the monk used a hammer and a chisel to chip away at the clay exterior until he revealed that the statue was in fact made of solid gold. So the story of the Buddha statue, it beautifully illustrates the contrast between fear and love in shaping our identity. And just like the
Mm.
statue, we often cover our true selves with layers of fear, doubt, and the external expectations to protect ourselves from perceived threats, losing sight of who we truly are and our potential. And our identity is constantly changing. Our sense of a self, it evolves as we integrate ambition into meaning and service, and it links into the life stages where we're at. And those stages are driven by different sets of values. And this is natural and a part of our personal evolution. So there are four distinct life stages we go through. And today, with the time that we have available, we'll just quickly touch on them. Perhaps we can explore them in future trainings. The first stage is athlete, where the main focus of identity is defined by what others think of me. And the second stage is the warrior, where the main focus is defined by what can I get. And then we start transitioning from egocentric to heart-centric into the third stage, the statesperson, where the main focus is defined by what can I give. And this stage acts as a doorway into the meaning-driven world. And the final stage is the heart-centric spirit, representing ultimate shift from ambition to meaning, where the main focus is defined by what am I. So for me, when I started my adult life, I fell into a masculine intergenerational farming business at 21, knowing absolutely nothing about the industry or my expectations of the roles. I was just a kid transitioning into some pretty big responsibilities. So we bought my hubby's family farm as soon as we married, and I quickly become a farmer by default. Now, as a young mum, I was juggling raising three kids and managing the day-to-day farm duties and the admin. I was constantly feeling overwhelmed and on and out of my depth. But I kept pushing through because I believed, and I would tell myself this too, you chose this beast, Melissa, so it's just part of the package. You just need to keep up. And when others around me would say it is what it is, I interpreted that as if I was failing for feeling so torn between my emotional dysfunction and the needs of those around me. So I kept pushing, and I was in hope that one day I would feel like I was succeeding in some way. And 2016 saw a break point. We were on dub speed, four farms, a contracting business. There were so many staff, and problems just kept popping up like spot fires. And one morning, while rushing to feed the calves to get ahead of the day before the school bus run started, I didn't tell anyone where I was going. And I got a text message from a staff member quitting effective immediately. And it was in that moment I remember saying to myself, I need a bloody break. And seconds later, I had rolled the farm buggy, compound crushing my leg under the roll bar. It was trapped, and it took almost 3 hours for the emergency services to arrive. And when my husband found me in such a vulnerable way, even going through what I just experienced and still in, all I could do was say, I'm sorry, I am so sorry, over and over again, instantly feeling like another burden in our busy lives. Now, I spent the next 2 years in a chair, ongoing infections, continuous surgeries at the risk of losing a leg. Now, I can tell you it was a long time to sit in nothing but my own company without the usual busyness of the farm and the daily duties to distract me. And one day in that chair, I broke down. I cried for 2 days straight. And a friend came and found me in this state. And she said, Melissa, what's wrong? All I could say was, what is effing right? The feedback I kept getting from people that I cared about was meant to be encouraging, but it made me feel worse. It was as if I was expected to still be this Melissa, resilient and bubbly person who was there for everyone. And I should be grateful for this downtime that the break brought. Like I was on break, a bit of rest time for me, but I felt so exposed and incapable and not enough. I couldn't do anything or care for anyone this way, let alone for myself. So this was my rock bottom, trying to solve the problems that I'd created with the accident, trying to solve the break, still broken myself, in survival state again with no tools. And it was then that I realized that this was not the kind of break I wanted or deserved for myself. I soon began to see that this version that I was living and giving to others was so far removed and at the detriment to myself. It was a wake-up call that I was not in alignment with who I truly was. My significance had been so wrapped up in all my roles as a farmer, a gap filler, a wife, a mother, that I completely overrode what mattered to me. I was way off course from my emotional compass. Hands up who can relate feeling off course or off kilter in certain stages of life. And how many times have you either heard, "You're not yourself today," or if you've even found yourself saying you feel out of sorts? Yeah. Or maybe you're behaving in a way just for the sake of fitting in, or it may be due to an obligation you have with someone. So whenever we are either talking about, thinking about, or doing something that's not in alignment with who we believe we are going to feel emotionally out of sorts. So as a wrap up, the way I see it is we have two options. You can be defined by what the clay represents, or be defined by what the light and gold represents. My favorite quote Joe mentions is the goal in life is to keep up with who you are becoming. And so I trust that this training today will inspire a little self-identity audit to take stock as to where things are at for you in your life. And getting to know your true self is a journey. Thank you. And I have a case study that I will obviously do on accreditation day as well. Thank you.